In this video, we're going to make a Mac application using Electron Node.js, which enables us to use web technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Instead of just making a website, we can make it a proper Mac application, which gives us a benefit of things like better memory usage, access to certain system features like file access, PDFs, screenshot. You also get to distribute the app in a proper app file. You can package it up as a Windows format, Mac application, even Linux and everything like that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is head to electron.atom.io, and they've actually got a demo here all written in Electron itself. So if you just download that and open it up. So like I said, this whole app is actually written in Electron. It gives you a brief overview of how you're going to create an app and the kind of thing it'll look like. So here's an example, really basic Hello World app. Here's a frameless window app, so really nice and clean. And the kind of examples of features you can use, like printing the PDF, taking screenshots, creating shortcuts within your app, which obviously you can't do with a website, and all those kind of things. So have a quick look through the app. Then after you're done, you'll need to install Node if you haven't already. Even if you haven't installed Node, it's good to update it because there's a lot of security patches, fixes, speed increases, those kind of things. So just head to node.js.org to get the current version. You can use either one, 4.4.6 or 6.2.2. And then after that, the next thing you want to do is just head to this actually Electron Quick Start GitHub repo they've created, which is actually really useful. So fire up Sublime. There's going to be a few files you need to create to start with. So if we just go to Documents and let's create our first app. So for this app, I was thinking of creating a stock market or share price tracking kind of app, just because it's something I've been interested in lately, and I think it's a good example of the kind of thing you can create an app for. Just to have in the background, kind of like a widget. I mean, you could create a really basic website for this kind of thing, but then you have the annoyance of a Chrome browser, Safari browser wrapping around it. I was thinking of using the frameless browser option or frameless window option within Electron for this app. We'll just give our app a name or folder a name called Simple Shares, and we'll drag that into our Sublime. I'm actually using a package within Sublime Text called Advanced New File, which enables me to just press Command Alt and N and create a new file. So one of the first files we'll need is in the index file. We got that, and also package.json, and what was the other one? And also we'll need the main.js file. So now we got the three files we'll be needing for this project. And to be honest, to start with, you may as well just copy what I told you here. So within package.json, we'll be needing this. We'll just rename our app Simple Shares. Version doesn't matter for the moment anyway, unless you're going to start working as a team or distributed and that kind of thing. Main sets up where actually our JavaScript will be stored, and we'll be using the main.js as default. And then this is all the main.js to actually get the app started off within Electron. Straight away, I'm going to make some changes within this code. All this code really does, like I said, is fire up Electron and declare for the moment a browser window, which is what our app will look like. So straight away, this is going to be too big. I only want the width and the height to be about 400 height and 200 width. And also, I'm going to set another custom option here of frame false. This will make sure that the app runs without a frame around it, because I knew I wanted to create this app really nice and clean, so it'll just sit on my desktop and I can just browse at it or glance at it when I'm interested. So the rest of it now is just going to fire up the index HTML. Also, it's going to open up web dev tools, which if you're going in production, you want to comment this out. But for when we're first building this app, we want to be able to see the dev tools like you used to with creating a website. And they say to use this index HTML. We'll just create our own here. You don't need a title, that really doesn't affect the app at all. So for the moment, we will just put Hello World, and then that's all we really need to start the app. So then what you're going to want to do is come to your terminal. I'm using iTerm. You're just going to want to cd into the project file, so cd space, drag in your document folder, so terminal's working within that section. If you don't already, you're definitely going to need Node for the next section. So type node space -v, and you'll see your Node version, definitely one above about 4.2. And from there onwards, you're going to want to install the Electron pre-built version. So npm install Electron pre-built. So while that installs, that's just installing within the local directory of our document folder for this app. At the moment, this app isn't really going to do anything. What we do want to do is we want to bring in some scripts to fire up when this app is loaded via terminal. So we can fire this script straight away, which basically says actually start Electron itself, and we want to start Electron from the root file. This might be a little bit confusing, but you can have Electron installed somewhere else on your computer, and you would set the path here. But for the moment, the way we've done this in this demo, we're installing it in the local directory. Which you can see here. Now we've got a new node modules folder full of a load of stuff that was installed by the terminal. npm start. That fires up our app, straight away opens up DevTools, and we can see the hello world. So we can really quickly now just change anything we want here, by world. And the nice thing about this app, you can just press refresh, and you don't even have to fire up the app again. It's there straight away because it's kind of web-based on the web technologies. So obviously this is really basic, and you don't really want, it's pointless creating an app to say that these kind of basic words. So we are, like I mentioned, going to want to create a app to monitor a stock price or share price. I would do the FTSE 100, but actually the time of filming the stock market is closed for that. So I'll probably do some kind of NASDAQ, like my Microsoft share or something like that. So straight away, let's just say current share price of Google share price. Let's create a. We're obviously going to want to show the price, so the price, and also we're going to want to give this an ID because I know we'll want to access it with JavaScript. Just give it price. Let's put a placeholder in there from the one, and let's quickly style up some things as well. So if we come back and refresh, now we can see the current share price of Google is just this £1,000 that I've manually set here. So I'm going to want to write some JavaScript as well, so may as well start writing that. So the downside of using Electron is you don't get the access to certain web features that you would normally, like in this example, to get the current share price from maybe the Google API, I would just use XHTML HTTP request. In this case, Node doesn't really offer that, so in that case we'll be using the request package. So straight away we'll just set up a variable that requires the request npm package. So straight away we may as well install that in our terminal. So press Ctrl+C to close the application, stop it running. npm install request. This will then give our app access to that media library of the request, and we can now do a request to this kind of Google API kind of JSON file that gives the current share price. I'm not really sure the legality of using this. I'm obviously just using this for the demo. So before you use this in production or anything like that, maybe read into the terms and conditions. One thing I have noticed is this URL returns a nice JSON file, but it's got these 2 slashes at the beginning. I'm not sure if that's meant to throw developers or what they're doing there, but we'll just kind of hack around it and remove those slashes. So with the request, we just set in the first parameter as the URL, and then we'll fire a function that then, once it's returned that, we can return some objects and work on it. So we'll set the body equals, like I mentioned, we'll be removing those first 3 slashes, so we can just do slice 3, which will remove the first 3 characters of this JSON file. And then we know it's just real high quality JSON we got there, so we can just pass that as proper JSON. For the moment, we'll just check this is working. So console.log, the body, and we'll see where we get. So come back to our terminal and let's start that up. So we've got a console error. JSON body. Of course, but we didn't set the variable here. So refresh that again. Yep, we got a console.log for the object and the first item, and as expected, we're getting a proper object of all the JSON that we wanted, really. I think the item we'll really be wanting is this L here, which is actually the current share price of Google on the NASDAQ share market. So if we refresh, this should change from 679.30 to, yeah, it's gone down. And now we've got now we know it's working within console.log. We can fire a function we'll just call it new price, not the best name, and we'll give it that body. So function new price. Now we can work on this nicely, and we know it's an array we're getting passed in, so we can just say that there, and we can say the current price is that array, and we know it's the first item in that array, and within the console log we saw it, yeah, it was the L character that we want to access. So there's loads of information here you can access within your app if you want to do. I'm not really sure what all of it is. Obviously that's showing the stock market. That's the last current, or the last, I don't know what these means, the last time traded and these kind of things, but we'll just stick with the current share price. So now we can say our price at the very top here, which currently we set with static HTML. We can actually update that live now, and so straight away when we first open the app it will get the latest price. So we can just do grab that with our JavaScript, and we named it price, and we can just say the inner HTML of that HTML object will be our current price. Come back to our app, update, and straight away we can see it's £1,000 for the split second before it runs that JavaScript, and then updates with a live share price, so 679.50. You can see it's changing every now and then when we refresh. So pretty much the core logic so far is working. Obviously this is pretty ugly so far, and it only really runs when we first load the app, so we're going to want to make it so that it checks every second or something like that. You can just cheat and be tiny bit lazy. There probably is kind of a way to use this request app to filter through this price or kind of do a constant callback, but for the moment we'll just do a set interval and run all our logic every 1000 milliseconds, so every second we'll run all this request. So now every second it's going to run this request and also then fire that new price function, which is the one that updates this. So we can see it is running down here, 679.84. There we go, it's changed on its own. Quite a time of day, I suppose. It's probably not going to change a huge amount. It is a Google share, which is generally quite static. That's why I wouldn't want to do with the FTSE 100, because at the moment that's crazy. But we can see it's updating, which is what we wanted. And obviously we need a better visual representation of that. Let's just throw in some extra CSS up here. So I'm going to use a font that is actually only really on my computer. Most people wouldn't have this font. So really you want to stick with a font that comes default with browsers, but because it's an app for myself, I know I'm always going to have this font. I'm going to use Source Code Pro, and we'll do text align center for all of our app. Come back and refresh. So straight away we got that font and we've got it centered. Going to remove that. I'm just going to remove that completely so that there's nothing showing until it fires that first item, and we'll style up the price as well. So we'll say make it a bit bigger, maybe 35 pixels. And now when I want to make some kind of indicator of whether this share price is going up or down compared to the last price that we saw, so we can say maybe give it a class of up down and an ID of price history. We'll leave it empty to begin with. With inside of our new price function is where we'll do our logic. So we're always going to want to compare the last price. So for the moment we'll just set a variable of last price, which is empty. Actually we'll set this outside the function because we'll want to scope it, and we don't want to reset it every time because we want to compare it. We'll create a new variable as well to grab this price history and kind of work on it. So history equals document get element by ID, was it price history. So all we really want to do is compare if the current price is greater than the last price. So if last price less than current price, we can run our logic. So we'll probably use an arrow, new element text equals, and we'll just copy in the UTF-8 up arrow here. And we're going to want to put that inside of a span as well, because we just don't want to put in the text straight away. So we'll put wrap equals document create element span. And we'll also give that a class name of up, so we know if we want to target with the CSS, we know it's the up version, or the stock price has gone up. If the share price has gone down, obviously the opposite logic. We can just say new L text equals the down UTF-8 arrow. get rid of space as well, and we'll use this same logic from here. This isn't the best coding, but really this is just a demonstration of Electron in itself, not necessarily JavaScript apps. And obviously we want the class to be down in this case. And we're going to want to move the current price to the top so we can work on it within our logic. We'll just cut that and paste it up here. These elements that we've created, we're going to want to append to the actual div that we created up here. So we are going to want to do history append child wrap. So now we've appended our wrapping span. Within that wrap, we're actually going to want to append the text or the UTF-8 arrow within inside of there. So we can just first of all we'll have to create the text node. So we can do var text node equals create the element. Create the text node with the new help text that we assigned here. And now we just have to append that as well. So we can do history append child text node. Now if you come back to our app, we can see our arrow is getting appended. Actually, I think what's happening is the price isn't actually changing, but we've always got an else. So really we should have an else if in here. If the last price is equal to the current price as well. So if there's no change, we'll want to do some logic as well. In this case then we can just do exactly the same. We'll just copy paste it. Really this should be a separate function, but we'll just cheat. So the class will be no change, and instead of an arrow we'll just put like a hyphen. So now let's see what's happening. So the price is, so obviously as well actually we're not ever setting that last price, so we can set the last price here at the bottom to then be the current price, so the logic will flow through. Now that should work this time. Yep, so to begin with it fired as a down because last price was 0 to start with, and now it's just constantly staying the same. And I think actually the Google share market has probably gone offline because it's 9 o'clock UK time. So what I've done is I found a different share or stock which is still online, which is DJI. Don't know what that is. It might be Dow Jones. I don't know. We'll just change it in here anyway, and we'll just change this to DJI. Now our app will straight away get the price of that. So we can see share price is going kind of down, 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 up, stayed the same, down, 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 up, up, up. So it's a bit hard to tell with these arrows though, there's no kind of color, so we'll just quickly color them. Thankfully we added in these classes earlier, up, no change, and down, so we can just do up, color green, no change, color gray, and down, color red. Refresh our app, and so actually this class isn't getting applied. In JavaScript, basic error. Instead of class it should just be class name. Actually looks like these colors aren't getting applied. Just realized the UTF-8 arrow isn't within inside of the span, so it looks like here somewhere we are doing this in the wrong order. Yeah, here we just we should be appending the text node to the wrap, so we should be putting in the UTF arrow into the span instead of whatever dumb thing we were doing there. Yeah, so now we actually got the arrows going inside of the spans, and we can see these nice colors, so it's going down, up, up, down, down, down. So obviously one thing I can see straight away here is this is going to become too many. We'll probably want to limit this to maybe the last 5 or so. So we can just grab the current length of how many we've created so far. We'll create a new variable. We'll name it node list, and we'll say history. There's only spans on this page, we can cheat a little bit. We can grab them by the tag name of span, and we can get the length. And then we can say if the node list is equal to 5, or well, it'll never be greater than, as long as our logic works here. Then we can just do history, and the first child we can just remove because that'll be the oldest one. So now we should get to 5, and then it should start deleting the first one, so that first down arrow should delete. Yep, so we just got 4, well, let's change it to 6, so we always see 5 on the screen, because obviously JavaScript's index base starts at 0. It's working, so it's going down, down, staying the same. Quite a steady price or share by the look of it, but it's doing the job for our app. So for our basic app, that's pretty much it. We can start to kind of wrap this up. We don't want dev tools to fire up when we first load it, so let's come back to terminal, close the app and start it again, see how it looks. So we can just have this in the background of our computer now. One thing we will want to do is make this window draggable. So in this case, we can just apply a style. I'll just copy and paste this one in. So we can apply in that we can drag this whole app. If we then refresh, we should just be able to drag this around on the computer nicely. Yep. And now the last thing we want to do is actually package this up as an app, because at the moment it's kind of all in these files. If you give this to your friend or share it on the internet, people aren't really going to be able to open this. If you try and open it with the internet browser, it doesn't have nodes, so you're not going to be able to use things like the request package or anything else here. So then to start packaging this up, we're going to want to bring in another script, which is a build script. So we're going to want to say on build, we'll run Electron packager, and under the name of Electron packager will be again installed locally within this root document of our app. We'll give it a name of we'll give our app a name of simple shares like earlier. We want to say it's on the platform of Darwin, which is the Mac platform. The x64 architecture, which is 64-bit, and we'll use the 1.0.0 version, which is pretty much all you can really use, I think. And we'll also add in this custom option to overwrite. So whenever we run this build, it'll always overwrite the last app we created, last version of this app. Just makes it easier for dev purposes instead of having to delete the old one then create it. So then you'll want to come to your terminal, and as long as you're still CD'd in your document, you're going to want to install this npm packager, which is npm install electron-packager. It may take a couple of minutes to download. Once that's done, just run npm run build. Now this may take even longer because it has to download 41.22 megabytes of the Darwin app logic or library. And if you want to install this or if you want to create this app for other systems such as Linux or Windows, you can come to the Electron documentation and view the build instructions for Linux, macOS, Windows, those kind of things. So once that's finished, in your document root, then you'll now have a new folder automatically created called Simple Shares in the version and the app, which straight away open that and it runs all on its own. So you can see here you don't really need any of this other stuff. So you can send this whole app to your friends on any Apple computer, and they'll be able to run that without any dependencies. Obviously in this case I've used a custom font, so that maybe throw a couple of errors, but it'll fall back to Arial anyway. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give you some ideas on how easy it is to create a Mac application using these web technologies. Obviously you can make them open source in a way. If you want to create any website, don't really want to show your source code, it's a nice way of sharing apps with friends. I mean, if you view the kind of the apps that Electron has created, apparently things like Slack and Visual Studio and WebTorrent and Ghost, all these kind of things run on it. But it's definitely a nice dev tool to play with and get used to, especially if you want to get used to Node as well. There you go. I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.